today, was there a point in the game you felt like you might have had some chances? It seemed like it petered out pretty quickly.
Well, I guess I could roughly say that opening ended up in my favor. Like I got some very slight edge, but it looked like it's going to be, let's say, long term. But then, well, this a5 move from Magnus is, I mean, positionally surely questionable, but seems like after some pretty precise moves, Black can be close to equality. And well, I mean, d4 looks absolutely natural, and I mean, perhaps, I mean, okay, if I would realize earlier that after d4 and exchanges after bishop e6, I can't basically prevent d5. So after d5, Black has some decent counterplay even in the endgame. I would probably play it differently, maybe, I don't know, some h3 or knight e3, just play it more slowly. But, you know, after bishop c8, d4 looks like very natural, so Black has all his pieces on onto the last rank. But yeah, somehow after bishop e6, it's really hard to do something, so I spent quite some time, and you know, probably the best try I found part of h3 was, I believe, knight d2 move. But even then, okay, I can for some Marshall-like, okay, we're playing anti-Marshall, but anyway, Marshall-like extra pawn against two bishops, so basically extremely close to a draw anyway, so that was it.
Are you feeling any frustration about the fact that you haven't gotten going, so to speak, with the white pieces yet?
No, I mean, okay, absolutely no frustration, so I guess it was a clean game and a very logical one, and you know, even in the end game, if I would be, you know, given a you know, a couple of tempi, I could pose some problems in this, like, say, bishop endgame. But I mean, okay, especially once Black Kings enter c5 and the 5f4, there is never anything for white. But well, I mean, this is you know, the current status of the chess theory. Yeah, so it's hard to find some advantage.
Magnus, is there anything sexy you could say about today's game?
Well, I mean, there's a lot that I could say, but yeah, I generally agree that I was obviously making some fairly ugly moves, but it seems all to work out reasonably well. At least I couldn't see any concrete way to pose serious problems. So I think it was a reasonably logical game.
You seem incredibly comfortable with the black pieces so far in this match. Is that the correct sentiment?
I would say I wouldn't say very comfortable. I feel like I've been trying to equalize in both games without getting a lot of chances, but it's okay. It's fairly normal procedure in these matches.
Jan, the trouble of the white pieces, as you made it, is documented nowadays. It seems very difficult to get advantage with white, even after months of preparation. What are you going to need to do to change the trend?
No, that whatever am I going to do, the trend will remain the same. So that's not about my preparation or Magnus' preparation. That's about, let's say, the current theory status.
Magnus, what's going to be the difference maker? You guys seem to be punching it out right now on even terms.
Well, it's 3 games then. There's a lot of time to go, and as you saw yesterday, could easily have been a decisive result. So, you know, yeah, it could. Obviously, for each game, the most likely result is a draw. I mean, there's just saying otherwise would be quite disingenuous. But I mean, any game could could explode. Just not today.
One last question for you. The tension, people see draws and they think it's just draws, it's not so interesting, but you've been a part of these so many years. How does the tension grow with each draw?
Yeah, as you say, obviously, as the match goes along, with each draw, you get a bit more tense. But I would say so far, yeah, it's 3 games, and personally, I've been black in 2 of them, I'm fairly satisfied. And there's a lot of time to create something, although obviously it's not ever going to be easy against a very strong opponent.
All right, if I may ask the journalists, you have, again, microphones at both sides of the room. Here.
So Jan, I wanted to ask you about it one moment. So when you played Rook E8, were you expecting Knight A5, which is sort of the main line? Or
you mean knight e5 instead of rook e8?
yes, was that something you were expecting, or was Rook E8, was it a surprise?
Well, in some way I expected everything, so I guess after such long preparation you more or less try to be familiar with most of the moves, but I'm sure there are also maybe some worthy tries which haven't been played yet, but yeah, okay, rook e8 is one of the pretty logical sidelines. Like this whole plan is very healthy. Rook e8, bishop f8, h6. Yeah, so a little bit like that's a variation. Yeah, but I mean still very very nice for black.
And then to Magnus, I wanted to ask about this move with h3. If Jan had played Knight d2, was your aim to play d5?
Yeah, as Jan mentioned, we'll after d5 pretty much by force get this ending with an extra pawn for white, which I thought was just a dead draw.
So even if the bishop, would come to c3 and pawn on a5, was your idea to reroute the bishop to a6 possibly, or did you think?
No, I mean I thought the bishop eventually after d5 everything gets taken. You take on a5, rook a8, bishop c7, rook a4, bishop goes to e5 and then c3, and then you go f6, king f7, h5. The bishops are just way too strong, I think.
So you would say that you were more than willing to go into this endgame, or did you consider perhaps playing another move to keep things going and maybe perhaps some chances?
I hadn't decided yet, but I had I had that in reserve, at least I thought. So there might have been other options, but it didn't feel realistic that I could actually play for something. So probably that's what I would have done.
And I know on the first day I asked you about football player.
I'm sorry. We have to give all the journalists an opportunity. You can come back on the mic if there are other questions. Sure. Thank you.
Hi, Saravanan from Chessbase. Ian, in the official commentary, Vishy Anand was discussing about your opening strategy. To quote him, in every match, people have tried different strategies against Magnus, but so far they haven't cracked it. Ian's strategy seems to be very reasonable. His style has been classical. He's playing the Rylopers, the Catalan with black. For the moment, he is playing the main line that is working for him. Was this your strategy? Would you agree with him? And do you think it's working for you?
No, but as Vishy said, it seems very reasonable for him. Yes, actually, I also hope it's reasonable. But I guess after 3 games, it's too early to discuss the strategy.
Mike Klein with Chess.com. This question is for Magnus Carlsen. Magnus, this is far from your first rodeo, and I know you have processes that have probably been established. So I'm wondering, how much are you trusting your team for in-match opening improvements, or are you still very hands-on in the middle of a match when looking for opening improvements?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. I don't wanna say too much, but it's always It's always a combination that obviously you have a good team that you trust, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm making the decisions.
Hi, this is Jan from VST from Montenegro. I have a question for Jan about the move H3. How happy were you at that point to make that kind of a move? Can you walk us through what was going on in your head at that point?
No, I think I surely won't tell you what I was thinking. But in general, I found out that d5 is likely inevitable, and this was a way to improve my position before d5. So maybe I could capitalize on that if black would push d5 immediately, but I guess also d5 should work pretty nicely. But yeah, somehow after h3, c6, it's not such a great important tempi, but h3 could be useful, yeah, in many lines. So I'm not getting mated on the first rank at least.
Thanks.
I am Rune from the global broadcasts of Chess24. The question is primarily for Magnus, and would also love to hear if Ian had a reaction. It appears that today's game was analyzed in an online database all the way up until move 20 2 days ago. If this was somebody from your team who forgot to make it private, how would you react?
I don't think, I don't think any of us can reasonably comment on that.
Well, I can only say that normally you try to switch up this online cloud option in your chess base when you analyze, yeah, to make sure no one uses, let's say, your fruitful analysis. But I mean, it could probably be a coincidence as well.
Okay, thank you.
Alexander Evstigniev, TV channel Russia 1. My question is for Jan, and I will ask...
All right, you guys, we got an answer to our question, kind of what you read out of that, David.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's nice to see them both smiling to that question.
Definitely.
I mean, you could see Magnus's mind racing, right? He was like, oh my God, who was it? Who was it? But yeah, of course, they can't reveal anything in public about who it might have been or what happened. But either way, it seems it was a bit of a mishap and someone made a bit of a blunder there.
In his team or Jan's team?
Oh, I have a feeling it might... Oh, no comment. It might have been Magnus's.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah?
The way his eyes just kind of went, and then he laughed, and it's like, uh-oh.
So do you think we actually caught it? That there has been a mishap in the team?
I think so, yeah. I think just the reaction there, that was the most I've seen him laugh.
Yeah.
Smile with a question. So it's a very good question. But yeah, well done, Jovanka, for finding that information.
Yes.
So, like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should all become detectives, guys.
Yeah, right,
let's do it.
Well, and you said it, you know, definitely modern chess. We can actually follow what's been analyzed on an online database and see the game unfold as well. Is it a shift for chess, what we're seeing?
It's a shift. I mean, it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of time, a lot of energy to go and delve into the deep, kind of dark corners of all these different openings. But at the same time, it does make it more exciting for us watching the games to just try and figure out what's going through the players' minds, what the teams are working on, what the coaches are working on, and it just adds a new dimension. And for that, I'm quite appreciative.
Yeah.